Hello everyone, welcome to our fifth session. In the last two sessions, we were talking about the literature review chapter, and last week we were covering how to write your introduction. Well, in the next 4 weeks, we are going to analyze different research methods. Basically, we are going to spend 2 weeks talking about qualitative research methods and other 2 weeks explaining quantitative research methods. So, this is the first session for qualitative research methods, and we are going to cover the initial steps to recognize if your research question demands a qualitative approach, and we will explain more in detail the case study methodology. Okay, as usual, I like to remind you the schedule of the sessions. We are in week number 5, and as I said, in the next 4 weeks, we will be covering research methods, qualitative and quantitative research methods. We have already covered the research design and how to develop your research question, the literature review chapter, the ethical considerations, and the introduction chapter. After this week, we expect that you should be able to understand if your research question requires a qualitative research approach. You should be able to design a case study, and you should understand the different types of qualitative data and data collection strategies. At the end of this session, we will be providing some advice on how to carry out an interview. Okay, let's start by providing some key characteristics of qualitative research. First one, which is quite obvious, is that the qualitative research use non-numerical data. So we will be analyzing other type of data, basically written and oral information. The approach of the qualitative research is naturalistic in the sense that we will be studying a phenomenon in their natural state. We are not changing the environment or the context. Also, the qualitative research is constructivist. It means that the researcher will interact with the phenomenon instead of being independent from it, as it happens in the quantitative research. The qualitative research requires an important contact with the field or life situation that we will be analyzing, with the phenomenon that we are analyzing. This type of research is interpretivist because the researcher will have to extract the meaning, the information from the data. It means that the data don't talk by themselves, like in numerical analysis, like in the quantitative analysis. And finally, we need to keep in mind that the qualitative research is explorative because we are not setting an hypothesis as a starting point. We are exploring the phenomenon, and we will be creating the theory from the data that we are gathering. Well, so now we have been explaining the main traits of qualitative research, and now the important question is, when should you carry out qualitative research? Well, we should use a qualitative approach when our objective is to understand how something is happening or how something happened. This is clearly in opposition to quantitative approach, that is the approach that we will use if we were looking at the relationship between two different variables. So we will be using qualitative research when the aim of our research is to develop an in-depth understanding of a particular phenomenon. In that case, the history and the context of the phenomenon would be pretty critical. And that's the reason because we will have to analyze particularly well the context and the background of the phenomenon that we are analyzing. A common reason to perform qualitative research is when there are limited number of studies on that particular topic. And typically, we were explaining when we were talking about the research design, the aim of the qualitative research is to develop theory. So, by analyzing our data, we will try to make propositions or to provide a theoretical framework that help to understand the phenomenon. So overall, when we are using qualitative research, we are doing something explorative because we don't know which will be the answer for our research question, and we are not proposing any hypothesis. We are not even trying to figure out what is going to be the answer to our research question. Only through the data that we will be collecting we will be able to build this answer and to develop the theory. Okay, now we are going to focus on explaining different research strategies in qualitative research. There are over 20 different qualitative research designs, like phenomenology, content analysis, narrative inquiry, but we are going to focus now on these three main qualitative research strategies. Particularly for the second part of this session, we will focus on case study. Well, a case is a particular phenomenon that happens in a bounded context. It can be a group, a community, a nation, an organization, a specific project, and the case study became a suitable strategy to investigate contemporary phenomena. It means phenomena that are currently happening and to analyze them within their real life context, where events cannot be controlled. Other important research strategy is called ethnography. Basically, in this strategy, the researcher aims to study cultures through methods that involve the researcher to be part of the culture that they are analyzing. So they will become participant of the observation. And the rationale behind that is that by sharing the culture, the researchers would be able to catch the meaning of a group, which is a key factor in order to understand the cultural practices and actions. And the third main strategy is the grounded theory. Basically, by following this research strategy, we will be generating theory grounded in the data. So the different concepts or theoretical frameworks are inductively derived from the data. In this particular strategy, the data collection and the analysis will occur simultaneously Actually, the early analysis from the preliminary data will drive the future data collection. It means that by an initial understanding of the phenomena, we will decide how to guide our research, which data are more attractive or more useful to answer our research question. In this strategy, different cycles of data collection and analysis will continue until we arrive something that we call theoretical saturation, which is basically when new data is not adding anything new. I will be sharing in Moodle uh, three different papers to illustrate these three different research strategies in order you can understand better the application of these qualitative research strategies. Also, in the reading list, you have access to this book called Qualitative Data Analysis. This is online, so you have full access to this book, and this is very useful to understand the different research methods connected with qualitative analysis, and also is very useful to understand how to set the boundaries of a case study if you are deciding to take this approach for your dissertation.